Welcome to Courage on the Rocks, a space where stories flow like a good glass of whiskey. We're two best friends pulling back the curtain on all the conversations that usually happen behind closed doors.
From grief and love to dating, friendship, motherhood, and all the chaos of life in your 30s. We're diving into it all with honesty, humor, and a splash of courage.
This podcast is about real stories, ours, yours, and the incredible people we'll meet along the way. Whether you're here for inspiration, a fresh perspective, or just to hear from someone who gets it, we're glad you're with us.
So grab your favorite drink, hit play, and join us as we navigate the highs, the lows, and everything in between, one episode at a time.
What's up, motherfuckers? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
We're going to keep that one in?
Absolutely not.
Yes. Happy episode...
Happy episode 7.
7. Oh my God. Yay.
That's crazy.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We are on a liquid IV diet since vacation.
I was tell them it was all vodka. This
Sure.
whole thing was
vodka. Yeah, vodka. Mm-hmm.
Although we did have vodka. Well, that was our drink of choice, I think, on vacation.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good, though. It is good that we're doing liquid IV, though, because believe it or not, we're running a Spartan race on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
I'm wildly excited. Some of us are more excited than others. But it'll be fun. So we're going to do updates on that in a different episode.
Yeah.
But today we have something really special. And I'm excited for Lianah to kind of share a lot more about herself.
Yeah. I think it was interesting because when we talked about podcasts and using... getting a little bit information about each of us and like what makes us who we are and where we came from. So this one's going to be fun because I don't normally talk about it a lot. I feel
that's an understatement. She doesn't talk about it at all because I don't even know what we're talking about really. So I'm super stoked because I've known her for 10 years. Yeah. And I don't know the vast majority of what's about to come out of her mouth. I'm super stoked. Like grab the popcorn. Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. As some of you may know, may not know, I come from a family of adopted kids. What? And I am adopted. Woo!
That's so cool. Yeah.
So the end. Episode end.
Okay, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I was born in 94 in China, and I lived there for about 5 years. And then a family here in California was like, hey, we would like another daughter. We're interested. We want to add an addition to our family. So they went through the process. And then they got matched with me. So I kind of wanted to get us go through like a timeline version of it all. I had spoken to my parents like, hey, I'm about to do this episode. Can I please get some background information? Because when you're 5, you don't know or remember the details of certain things. Wow. So I brought some really cool things that my parents have kept in memory of it. My mom was like, oh, we get to share it. She's like, oh, I'm a little nervous because these are like parts of her. She's like, I feel like a part of me is like leaving the house. Aww, I know. So I was like, sweet. I'll take care of them and treasure them. So we're going to go through a little bit of them.
Before we start, my questions, like what was that like to even initiate that conversation with your parents?
Very organic because being raised with 5 siblings, all of us adopted. It's just kind of like an unspoken thing, like, well, it's adoption, like it's just, but as a 31-year-old going back and talking to them about like, hey, can you give me a little bit more information about it? I was a little nervous because, I was determining like how much of it do I ask of them? It's like, do you know who my biological parents are? Do you know where I was born? Or all of these other things. I didn't know like how in depth I wanted to get to.
Yeah. Did you ask any of those?
Yeah, I asked some stuff. Yeah. Like first of all, when in China during this time, from like the early 80s to 2016, they had a one-child policy. So every family can only have one kid, basically, because the government was too worried about overpopulation issues. Unfortunately, with that decision, they prefer males at that time. Yeah. So I'm a female.
What?
I'm a female. I was not as wanted or desired. So with that came with orphanages and places where baby girls go. So they didn't have a lot of information about like where a lot of these girls came from. Most of the time it was just a silent, quiet drop off in the middle of the night and walk away situation, which is the best case scenario of that time, is being placed in a safe environment in order to be adopted by other families around the world. Other horrendous things happen to babies, or either the mom had forced abortion or sterilization happened because of all that. Crazy thing. If you want more information, just Google it. It was crazy. So when I asked my parents about like, hey, do you know any other information about me, where I came from, a couple stuff, they knew the province and the area of it. Anhui is kind of like eastern China, high population. All they really knew is I was just dropped off at the orphanage. They didn't know by who or where. And that it was fairly younger. I was fairly younger. And then that was it. You know, that was all that the orphanages had information about it.
So you don't actually know what age you were when you were dropped off?
No, I don't. But I do vividly remember, and I know this part, like I remember it was dark. So whenever it happened, it must have been, I was dark, I was younger, and I remember riding a bicycle to the orphanage. Like I remember like being on the back of something and being dropped off late at night. And that was like, that's all my memory of that incident. Yeah, of that event. So it was, it's interesting. It's kind of traumatic for, I mean, it's heartbreaking for either one of it. The parents who have to go and drop off a child and never to see him again. Because they could have been punished for it. You know, during that time, the government laid heavy fines on families who had more than one kids. Imprisonment, jail, all of these horrendous things they put on families just because they had another kid, right? Then they, in 2016 to 2021, they lifted the one child to now 2 kids. But even then, many articles came out that saying even 2 kids is not going to be enough for the 5 decades of no kids or 1 kid only.
That they didn't account for.
They didn't account for. And also like they have events in which they realize they can't afford to have kids. In 2025, right now, people are just, it's so expensive because Chinese culture is ingrained where they raise the boys and they have to provide it with with a house or an apartment so that the girl can come live with him, and all of these super expensive things that many people can't afford. I mean, we can barely afford it here in the United States, let alone another country, right?
But we don't need no man for that.
I'm an example of that one too.
But also men are appreciated. We're not
1,000%.
Yeah, we like men.
Yes, I love you, Chris. Okay.
Yeah. But we don't need men.
So that was just, they didn't know a lot of information about it.
Yeah.
And now they're facing the consequences of it. Although it's funny enough, when I did like just a little bit of research on this, they have a special day called Single Day.
What the hell?
Yeah, for all the men to get online to find women, or to get into like a local area and gather, and like they call it Single Day.
Just one day out of the year.
Yep, in which everyone gathers together at a bar or gathers together at a special event space and mingle with other single females. And
what do they do the rest of the year?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not privy to that. Yeah. The other thing I found out for the research was interesting is if they had twins, that didn't count against them for the 2 kids. So if they had 2 kids, twins, which
thank
is
God at least,
right,
Jeez.
Very coveted to have a twin. And if the twin, it was a boy and a girl, it was like you're done.
Yeah,
like golden, like that's all you need kind of situation. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a trip.
Yeah. Fun fact, when I was doing research about it, it reminded me of you and Josh.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
okay. I was like, oh man, like I'm a twin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a twin brother, so.
Yeah, and in the Chinese culture, it's actually a very coveted thing to have a twin be a boy and a girl. And
Special.
do you know what it's called? I'm so glad. I'm excited to reveal this. In the Chinese culture, they call it dragon phoenix conception.
Are you serious?
Right?
Oh my God, I love it. Oh my
So the boy, your brother would be dragon,
Dragon.
and you would be phoenix.
Which that has a lot of like symbolism
Yeah.
for us, for me, and rising from the ashes through,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so.
I know, right?
I'm so proud of you for finding that.
I saw it and I was, oh, that's a nugget. I gotta
dragon
save and share it.
phoenix.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yes, twins, wonderful things to have. But so yeah, I was at the orphanage, didn't know a lot of information, and just kind of raised there until the family like wanted me. So yeah.
Okay.
All right,
so
so
excited to see
we're
what
gonna
you
dive
have.
into this. My mom, funny enough, look at my drawings and stuff. I know, right?
That's your drawings?
Drawing. Okay, they are attempt at drawing.
No, that wasn't. I'm like, wow, someone should have went to art school. No, that's what I was saying. I just didn't know that was from
My mom
you.
wrote that one, but yeah. My mom, when we adopted all of my siblings. Okay, so my oldest is from Thailand.
Okay.
My second oldest is from Vietnam. My other sister's from Hong Kong, and my two younger siblings are from California. So it's very large and diverse families and siblings. Each one of them, my mom created what's called a life book for their adoption. It's a story of our adoption, the process of like them going to our country and waiting to pick us up. So now she was like, now I'm passing it on to you. So thanks, Mom. Yeah.
Oh my God, there's stuff on the back though.
Yeah. Pictures.
These
and
are your
words.
drawings?
Yeah.
Oh my God, and there's Chinese symbols and
Words.
writings.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Isn't it cute?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just imagining like little Lianah doing
Yeah,
that.
trying to do it. So
Oh my God.
I'm going to go through this. Yeah, so this is a very first picture of one of the ladies at the orphanages that was taking care of us. And then it was me.
This is you?
No. This one was me.
Oh, that
and
makes
that one was another little girl who she was taking care of as well.
This one looks like.
Yeah.
Like, what?
So changed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Should I like put
Yeah.
I feel like I should.
Yeah.
What's up? So cool.
Cute.
Hopefully you can see this. This one's her.
The little quiet one.
Right?
My mom's like, he looks so sad.
Well, you
Yeah.
were going through some stuff.
Right? I was like, yeah.
Come on, Mom.
Went through some stuff, yeah. So this is the life book. And in here is my name.
Wow, was that your last name? You don't know.
No, so
Okay.
my middle name was actually my first name. So they kept my first name, and then my parents gave me my first name as my first name.
How white was it that I just didn't even connect the fact that like Lianah maybe wasn't the name?
Lianah is not my Chinese name.
I've known you for 10 years and that's what popped in my head right
No.
now. Okay, enlighten me.
Lianah is a name that my parents created and made and gave me. My middle name, my legally middle name here, was actually my first name when I was at the orphanage.
Was
So
that
this
a name they gave you? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So it's a name that they gave us because there was no identification of names and stuff. So they give you names when you go to the orphanages. So I was born in this year.
Wait, what was that name though? You didn't say it.
Oh, the name is Wrong, which is
R-O-N-G-S.
R-O-N-G.
Not W-R-O.
Yes. Okay, so I do have a little thing about this. I hated revealing my middle name to people because of that association. Because people were like, oh, what? You're always wrong. And I'm like,
Right,
it's
like your existence.
Yeah, you're wrong kind of thing. Yeah. But in Chinese, that is not what that means. So I feel like,
makes sense. She messaged this to me and I'm like, I have the answers.
yeah, so this is what my middle name means. Wrong, R-O-N-G in China means prosperous, glory, and honor. exudes a flourishing aura that is sure to bring goodness into a baby's life.
Oh.
So yeah, so that now I say it with pride.
You are the flourishing aura that leaves goodness in everyone's life now.
Oh, thanks. But isn't it interesting? Like name has that kind of effect, like
yeah,
that
really
power
does.
into it. So
it's also like it breaks my heart that like for your story of like being dropped off at an orphanage, you're already like losing your entire life, but then like your name is stripped from you. Your name. Okay, hold on. What about your birthday?
That's the year that they guess. They had the year correct, I think, but I think this date. If you don't have the name and the date and everything.
No, I know I'm connecting.
And boom.
Well, I'm a bad friend. I just want to melt to the ground right now. What the fuck? Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hold on.
It's an estimate. It's a guess. Because they didn't have like birth certificate. I wasn't dropped off because
You don't know the date that you were born?
It's a guess. I believe that I was born on February 15th. I know it. So I've had 31 years to process it. Mariah's doing it right now. Yeah. So yeah.
I think February 15th is a good date.
Right?
Yeah.
After Valentine's Day. Although I don't know if they celebrate Valentine's Day, but I would like to think so.
Well, fuck it. We're here now, so we do.
Right? Okay. So, whew, emotional. Yeah. Yeah. So, this is the very first picture. My parents, my mom's so sweet. She writes a little thing.
Oh my God, what to say?
I know, right? Get a drink first.
This whole thing. Can we have alcohol at this?
Right. Open one of those.
Selection.
Pop it in here. Oof. Okay. So she wrote, once upon a time, there was a wonderful little girl in China. Her birth parents loved her very much, but she couldn't give her everything she needed. In the United States, there was a family who wanted another little girl to love and care for. They traveled to China. So this is a picture of the very first picture they saw of me that the adoption agency gave. And that's a picture of them traveling to China. And both my older siblings came along.
I am showing this to the camera if you're just listening to this.
Right? Showing proof to the camera. So yeah. So that's me and my family coming along. They made it to the consulate. The family could hardly wait until the day they could meet Lianah. They gave her hugs and kisses. So we met here in Anhui, China. And when you're doing one of these adoption agencies, they go as a group. So I wasn't the only one being adopted. There was like a multitude of other babies and girls that were being adopted along with me. Yeah.
It's just nuts.
Yeah, so it's just sweet.
I think I'm going to be back and forth all day right now. This whole
We'll just
podcast.
send pictures. I'll show you guys pictures when needed. Lianah loved her new sisters and Mama and Baba. Baba is dad in Chinese. They loved Lianah very much. Lianah had fun with her new family. So when they came to China, they were there for 2 weeks. They had to, the government said, you have to stay here with them, get acclimated, get the child used to you. So they stayed at one of the local hotels there. I stayed with them for a couple nights, played with my sister. They brought toys and things for me to play with. So that's a picture of me wearing sunglasses and playing with a doll.
I love it.
Yeah. Kia, Taya, and Lianah had fun in China. They went to zoo, to museums, and to the park. They loved being together. Look at all three of us.
That is awesome.
Cute.
And at this time, you didn't know any English.
No, so yeah, this entire time I'm speaking Chinese to them. And my parents are like nodding their heads. Yes, yes, yes. I agree. Whatever she wants kind of situation. Yeah, which is cute. Yeah, I liked it. Soon it was time to go to the American consulate. It was a happy day for Papa, Mama, Kia, Taya, and Lianah. So in China, there's a building in Anhui where U.S. government officials, and anytime U.S. citizens are doing transactions or flying through there to do like adoption stuff, they had to go back to the United States consulate and say, hey, we're going to bring back a girl from China and we're adopting her, and do all of these paperwork and stuff. So that's what that was. That's what this building is. And when you're in that building, you're constituted like you're a U.S. citizen in that building. So like that U.S. rights and everything would be there.
Yeah.
But on the outside of it is Chinese rights.
Wow.
Because again, communist country, so different laws and different, different everything. Kia, Taya, Lianah, and Mama and Papa made lots of friends in China. So yeah, there were other babies and girls, and many other families from around the United States met in China through this adoption agency and said, okay, we're all going to adopt kids.
Wow.
For the next 2 weeks. Yeah. This is me, different babies. Yeah.
Wow.
I was on the older spectrum of kids being adopted, which then makes me think that I was probably, 3 or 4 being dropped off, because I was 5 when I was adopted.
Yeah, I was doing that math too when you said that. Yeah.
Soon it was time to get on an airplane and come to the United States. Us waiting for airplane. First they stopped in Hong Kong. Look, we all have the same shirts.
Oh, and like your smile.
Right. Right? It's like, happy.
She's happy.
She happy. Finally, they arrived in San Francisco. They were close to home. Soon they will be at their new home. Our lollipop sucker, my mom's, I told you lollipop, my mom always had it. Anytime we traveled, she would grab it out. Lianah, Mama, Papa, and sister, Kia, Taya, loved her very much and always will. Her grandma, too.
Can you see that one?
Yeah.
Wow.
And cute.
That is so freaking cool.
It's sweet. Then other pictures of our kitchen and our matching pajamas again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the end. Oh, my sister and I.
Wow.
So that is our life book of our adoption. Yeah.
Your mom's wow. I mean, your parents are amazing.
Yeah. And I love that they were very thoughtful about keeping these type of memories, because, as I grew up, those memories were there, but I didn't retrieve them until I talked to them. I was like, hey, I'm going to do this episode. And they showed me this and the album and other things that I was just boom, boom, boom. Yeah. They had,
Wow.
I should have brought it, but they had my first outfit. They saved.
Oh my God.
And it's interesting because when you're adopted, I always had this like heart-wrenching feeling that like, God, I'm never going to have a baby picture. I'm never going to have baby clothes or anything of like what I looked like when I was a baby till 5. Like this is as young as like my identity can goes to, right? So the fact that they kept those clothes though, and like kept these pictures and stuff, that gives me like a very comforting feeling. Like, oh, I mean, I may not have like 1 through 5 years, but at least I have my 5th year here, and I can envision that. So, note to parents: take pictures all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Pictures,
save things, save the memories. We love to go back and see them.
Yeah.
Just nostalgia and kind of like a closing of chapter, or like a healing for myself.
Yeah, there's some peace there.
Yeah, exactly. Because like being adopted, you always battle those things. I remember when we did an elementary school, they always have like a family tree project. They always like, okay, where are your grandparents and all these things? I know, right? And it's always heart-wrenching for me to think about, because, and in no way to hurt my parents at all, but like, for me, like my branch of family went so far, and like what the school wanted branches of family is like grandparents, great grandparents, when do they travel the United States, and all of this stuff, right? For me, it is my family, and I do have that history, but it's not biologically, it's like a different association.
Yeah, and it's like it's touching on like a really sensitive spot. Like that just can't. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like it's very different for me, but like Leo's dad isn't here, right?
Yeah.
So like I have to work through like him like having a Father's Day, thing at school, but you know, him not having his dad show up, right?
Yeah.
It's like in a weird way, like I connect that with what you're talking about because like whenever it's family related and you have a piece missing, and you're doing something in school or it's a presentation or that individual or that thing is supposed to be present, it hurts a lot more in those moments.
Yeah, it does, because I feel like it also brings back a realization that you don't have the thing that they're asking of you. You know, it forces you to go back to realizing, oh, I'm making a tree branch, but that branch is now broken, or that branch is, you know, like not really technically biologically there.
My branches are not the same as other people.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Like, and same as like for foster care students or youth, right? Like, also just having this understanding that like families look very different for everybody, right? So it's interesting. Yeah.
But that's that for my family. They did make a whole big book of it.
We're going through every
single page. No, it's just I'm just going to show a couple of ones that I realized it was really interesting, because being integrated those 2 weeks into this family, I had no realization of exactly what was going on, but I knew that like, okay, these are a group of people I'm following. They're showing me these things. We're going to go do things. And, you know, the orphanage and people who were taking care of me, they had that conversation of like, going to see your family. Like, this is, people want you. People love you. Here they come. Go stay with them. Having those conversations with someone who's 5, you know, and then all of a sudden being so trustworthy of like, here's this family. Let's go to a zoo. Let's go to parks. Let's go and get, you know, build a relationship together. So it was really interesting, but it's part of my story. They arrived in September of 99, and they flew into Shanghai. There was all kinds of fun, like things to do, hotels, like a culture shock. I think my mom was talking about how anytime she went to all the other countries, Vietnam, Thailand, China, huge culture shock.
Yeah.
You know, the magnitude of the difference between the people, the culture, the buildings, the conversations around you. It's just incredible. So they went to Shanghai. They went and saw different classrooms and children. They took tours. Look at my little sister. Look how tiny she is. I know, right? Banyan trees, getting acclimated to Chinese culture. Leaving Shanghai, arriving at Anhui, so that's the location where the orphanage was from. Hotel, so silly.
Wow, they literally documented like every single moment from that trip, from like getting to you, having you, leaving with you. Wow.
And I really appreciate it, because when I see these pictures, I'm like, oh my God, like that brings a very glimpse of like of that moment,
like
a small memory, right? I mean, I don't remember this particular spot where like they actually came and introduced us, but I do remember this picture. There's a picture of me wearing my dad's shoes, and I just remember how funny or silly it was that my tiny feet were in his shoes. And then he was making these silly faces. To this day, it's probably one of my favorite pictures. Silly faces. And I remembered the silly faces.
Yeah, you're copying the silly faces back then. Yeah.
Right. Even though it's all in Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know him, right? I just met them, and we're all in bed already, taking naps and playing. It was really sweet. Yeah. Dancing, having fun, getting to know each other, going around. I mean, like, this is China. This is what it looks like.
That's trippy.
Right? Yeah. That's cool. Big smiles, celebrations. My mom was talking about how one of the nights I loved doing my siblings' hair, because if you notice, I had short hair.
I did notice,
even as a girl, I had short hair, so I wasn't able to play with a lot of things. But my siblings who came had long hair, and I got to do their hair, and they so sweetly kept their hairstyle and went to dinner.
No.
Out to public with it. Bonding time, as my mom would say it.
So
right?
Awesome.
Yes, such sweet sisters for doing that. Right.
They to this day still have that hairstyle.
Right? They kept it all the time. Yeah. Touring different locations, having bath time.
The bubble baths.
Bubble baths, right?
So sweet.
I know. Having different tours. it's interesting because I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, it's a whole other world. So different. It's a whole other world. An opera, I remember not liking that.
It's crazy. You can take a person and pop them into a completely different environment and see what they become. Because this version of you, we would not have Lianah, right, from February 15th, 1994, you know, here with us. This reality would not exist. You know, you would be across the world speaking a completely different language, you know, not know English, not have the same major, not like you,
the unknown
your entire
of that.
everything. It's insane.
I think it speaks volume to the power of how resilient kids can be. You know, because I'm not the only person who was adopted, but damn, there are some people that went through all kinds of life, walks of life, those early years, and so how resilient they can overcome heartache like that and still flourish, still have good days, and still able to find joys and believe in the possibility that, you know, tomorrow's going to be another day, a better day. So
oh my goodness.
Right. So many great things. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for keeping this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mom and Dad, for adopting her.
Yes, and that too. Just fun memories. And that is my childhood, my adoption.
Okay, wait. What the heck is this? I didn't know what this is.
Yeah, my parents, there's a couple of them.
Really?
They gave me a life box of stuff. And it's a little book that I kept and that I would read to them, or I would play with them, and it would have English words of fruits and then the Chinese words of them as well.
Wow.
Please don't ask me to say them because I don't know them now.
I was never going to do that. That wasn't even on my mind. Although I think I saw lychee in there.
Yeah.
And you can do that one. What?
Lychee? Lychee? I don't know. Lychees. But yeah.
That's what we call it.
Yeah. I call it lychee. But yeah, this little tiny kid's book. Look. Cute. Yeah, so they kept them little mementos, little clothes, my shoes, my socks, and a little toy. Yeah.
I am so glad that we did this episode and that you shared all of these things.
Yeah.
There's a lot that are walking away like, oh God, my mind is blown.
I think it's also, it's good for us, our relationship as friends, for you to understand, like, oh my gosh, this is Lianah, is a little Lianah.
And we haven't had these conversations, not because like we can't or because I didn't care. There's always been a piece there that there is a sensitive piece there. And so like I've been aware of that, and so I've always like cautiously navigated this conversation. But always also just making sure you knew that like you can talk to me about it. And I'd love to hear it. I mean, this was like such a privilege to listen to and hear.
I loved it because I think I don't think it would have happened if not for the podcast. Right? You're crazy enough. I mean, it took us 10 years to get down to do something like this. But again, it goes back to why we're doing this podcast, you know, like being resilient, having the courage to dig deep into who we are and like how is that going to shape us in the future, and tapping into like who I am is because of my past, you know, a lot of the things that like made me who I am and where I came from. So I think that's why when I was like, okay, I need to start, you know, being more invested into this podcast and showing people, because we're going to be sharing information. Like, what does that have anything to do with? And this is a large piece of who I am, adoption and my family, diversity. You might see pictures like, how are those all her siblings? Here's my story.
And we're going to keep sharing these little pieces of our story, and it's going to come into this much bigger, you know, thing. That's the goal, is to share about it, and you can also share about your stories and your life, right? It's not necessarily meant to stay in the past. It shapes us, right? And whatever you're working through now, your past plays a part of that. So like there's nothing wrong with knowing yourself fully. I think that's kind of the goal in life.
Yeah.
You know, and part of doing that is digging up the things that are
Yes.
beautiful but also have pain, right? But you don't have to like push that aside and not talk about it just because there's some pain there.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Tap into it.
Tap into it and have courage.
Have courage. Thank you for joining us on this episode.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.
Thanks for tuning into Courage on the Rocks.
Until next time, hold on to your courage and we'll see you soon. Cheers.